What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. However you're watching, however you're following the show, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. You can also hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you if you are listening to either of those. Don't forget YouTube. You might be watching on there right now. Like, share, subscribe. Again, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. It's been a jam-packed week, guys. Last week, filling in on Fox Sports. Busyness all the way around. If you don't know, now you'll know. I joined Locked On Suns. I'm doing a bunch of Suns coverage, but you're not into that right now. You're here for all things football. We got a jam-packed, just a ton of stuff going on. A banger of an episode on the Ben Garcia Show. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So the NFL season got kicked off last night, and it was just a banger of a game. A lot of great things going on between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens last night. I didn't expect it to be this kind of game. I honestly just kind of expected the Kansas City Chiefs to run roughshod all over the Baltimore Ravens. If you remember, McDonald, the defensive coordinator, is not with the Baltimore Ravens anymore. I expect that defense to take a little bit of a step back. The wide receivers, although to other people, a little underwhelming to me for the Baltimore Ravens. But I was honestly impressed with the way that the Baltimore Ravens conducted themselves. I tweeted it out last night. Their first possession of the game, multiple penalties, offensive line was getting pushed around, just a lot of different things not going their way. Immediately scored. Derrick Henry, although the offensive line was a little bit of an issue last night, is at minimum going to be able to replicate exactly what Gus Edwards did last year, which was just be a power back for this team, and even then some. I believe he's going to be much better than Gus Edwards as well. Here's what I will say about the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone that has just kind of written off this Super Bowl to be given to the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm not there yet. It is really hard to three-peat in this league. And I understand Patrick Mahomes is really good. Bill Belichick is really good. Travis Kelce is really good. But there's a reason why no one has three-peated in the NFL. It's just tough. Target on your back. You're going to get everyone's best game. And it's hard just to continue to motivate yourself to be a team that is going to continuously win. That's tough to do. You've already proven a lot. Although Patrick Mahomes has a real motor in himself that allows him to just continue to be motivated and motivated, finds reasons to continue to get motivated. That's just him. And then you flip it over to the Ravens side of things. You flip it over to the constant overreaction from last night. Lamar Jackson just suddenly can't play the game of football. I have become a Lamar Jackson stan over the past couple of seasons. At first, I was wrong about Lamar. At first, I was someone who just kind of thought he was a one guy, one trick pony, a gadget guy, really good with his legs, but not so much with his arm. To me, that is just something that is so irrelevant and not true anymore. For some reason, after last night's loss, in which we're all overreacting, Lamar Jackson just now isn't a very good quarterback. If I have to continue to defend a two-time MVP, that his only flaw is not being able to beat Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to lose my mind. Lamar Jackson wins over 80% of his games. He has lost one game to the NFC in his time as the Baltimore Ravens quarterback. All this guy does is win. He's got 2 MVPs to his name. He's a Pro Bowler. He's an all-pro caliber quarterback. But because he can't beat Patrick Mahomes, which, newsflash, literally no one can, people are coming down on him. People are not happy with Lamar Jackson's performance. Listen, he wasn't heaving the ball downfield last night, but does he really have any burners to his name? He's got Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, a smaller guy, but still kind of working between the numbers and not really a vertical threat downfield as much as you'd like him to be. But Lamar Jackson has continued to carry the Ravens franchise from an offensive standpoint. This team without Lamar is not even the same team. It's not the same offense. He is worth more than you know when it comes to point spreads in Vegas. I get so sick of the Lamar Jackson hate and the Lamar Jackson narrative that he's not very good or he's overrated. You don't win 2 MVPs being overrated. Just because he can't beat Patrick Mahomes, which again, newsflash, literally no one else can, it doesn't make him a subpar quarterback. Does that make Josh Allen subpar? Does that make Joe Burrow subpar? Because Joe Burrow doesn't have any Super Bowls and Patrick Mahomes does? Because Josh Allen struggles to allow his defense from not giving up a bunch of yards and a field goal to end the game with 13 seconds left? No! Don't blame Lamar Jackson for Patrick Mahomes' greatness. Which, by the way, Lamar Jackson, every game with the Chiefs is extraordinarily close. Even last year in the conference championship game, it's pretty close the entire way through. Now, here's something that did bother me from Lamar Jackson last night in the Baltimore Ravens and the NFL community on its own. The NFL is not in the pocket of the Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL is not holding their flags for the Kansas City Chiefs. I get so sick of this narrative. When I see Lamar Jackson, when I see the Baltimore Ravens last night refute the fact that Isaiah Likely did not get his feet down last night, it just drives me crazy. Instead of blaming the NFL, instead of blaming Roger Goodell, instead of blaming the officials, maybe the team that has won 3 Super Bowls over the last 4 or 5 years is just better than you. Maybe you just can't afford to make mistakes. It drives me crazy when the only reason, when I see it all the time, that the Chiefs are any good is because the NFL's in their back pocket. It's because they got Taylor Swift. It's because it's rigged. It's because the officials are trying to give them every call. No. Maybe they're just better. Maybe they're just a more complete team. Maybe their quarterback is better than yours. Maybe they actually play in the preseason. Maybe they take those extra reps seriously. Stop blaming the officials. Stop blaming the NFL. Stop blaming whoever it is you want to blame for the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs success. Maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there, I'm just spitballing, maybe they are 3-time world champions over the past half decade because they're just better and the officials aren't in their back pocket. Has that ever occurred to you, NFL fanboy? Maybe they're just better. It's not because of Taylor Swift. It's not because of all the eyeballs on this team. It's not because the officials want to give them the game. They're just better. They're just more complete. They have a better quarterback. They take the preseason seriously. They take training camp seriously. It seems like from everything I read, they're the only team that still hits in training camp. They're more prepared. They're more strategic. They have a better head coach. And they have what is possibly the second greatest quarterback in all time right now in Patrick Mahomes. It ain't because the officials are in their back pocket. The Cincinnati Bengals are just a real-life tire fire. This has gotten to the point where it is just pure insanity, and the reasoning why I am so out on the Cincinnati Bengals this year, I don't expect them to make a Super Bowl run. I don't expect them to make a deep playoff run. I don't expect them to win their own division. Noisy off seasons almost always lead to disappointing regular seasons. And what we're seeing from the Cincinnati Bengals is just pure dysfunction, loud, and noisiness. T. Higgins wants a new contract. He ain't getting that. A depleted defense that doesn't have the stars it used to, those guys are gone. Jamar Chase now still has barely practiced with the Cincinnati Bengals. Showed up to practice yesterday, and now there's a report that if he plays, he's going to be limited, and only if he wants to show up and dress out for the Cincinnati Bengals. This is what poor ownership does to a franchise. There's no reason not to pay Jamar Chase. The market has been set. Justin Jefferson has been paid. Brandon Ayuk has been paid. CeeDee Lamb has been paid. At this point, it's blank or get off the pot if you're the Cincinnati Bengals owner. It's blank or get off the pot if you're the Cincinnati Bengals front office. You know what Jamar Chase wants to be paid. You know what the market has said Jamar Chase is worth. And that's about near what Justin Jefferson is getting paid. It's what I don't understand. This is a distraction that could be avoided if you are the Cincinnati Bengals. You don't have to deal with this. You don't have to wonder if your star wide receiver is going to be there. And now you are potentially taking a game against the New England Patriots that should be a gimme at home. Guys like T. Higgins might not play. He's got a hamstring issue. And now Jamar Chase might not be there. Which, by the way, this offense is also ruling out a running back. This team has clear dysfunction. And it's why I'm just out on the Cincinnati Bengals. You have all these pieces that you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Jamar Chase potentially won't be there. T. Higgins has a hamstring injury. Joe Mixon is not there anymore. And it's all due to the instability and the ridiculousness and the dysfunction of the Cincinnati Bengals front office. You paid Joe Burrow. Why wouldn't you pair Joe Burrow up with Jamar Chase for years to come in a league that is increasingly moving closer to offense? It doesn't make any sense. There's no one else that needs to be paid on this team. It's either blank or get off the pot. And this is what bad ownership does to a team. It allows for a team that should have no distractions, no dysfunction, to basically be the opposite of that when you don't avoid these problems. And it's why the Cincinnati Bengals are not going to be great this year. It's why the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be disappointing. And then you have on the horizon not just the Jamar Chase issue, not just the T. Higgins issue, not just the fact that you have a brand new running back as well as Joe Mixon's walked out that door. You have the lingering Joe Burrow issue. Joe Burrow has never had a full training camp. Remember, he had the appendicitis one year. One year he got injured. The other year, torn ACL. He's never had a full off season with training camp. And now he's finally getting one. And Jamar Chase isn't there. It's craziness. It's stuff that can be avoided. The Cincinnati Bengals will probably win on Sunday because it's New England Patriots and they're awful. But this kind of dysfunction is what's going to keep them out of the playoffs. This kind of dysfunction is what's going to stop a team that should be contending into then having a very disappointing season. You know what the market is for Jamar Chase. You're either going to pay him or you're not. But do it or don't already. Make your intentions clear. Brandon Ayuk has an extension. CeeDee Lamb has an extension. Justin Jefferson has an extension. There's no more reason anymore for the Cincinnati Bengals to be having this much noise and this much dysfunction coming out of a locker room. And it's exactly why this team is going to be worse than you think this year, not better. So the team I cover, the Arizona Cardinals, are headed to Buffalo this weekend. I have been very good throughout my career. I feel like I have to state this before every season for a team that I root for and for a team that I cover. I've been very unbiased. I'm very poised when it comes to these things. I don't let my fandom get in the way. I've called out coaches. I've called out players. I've praised coaches. I've praised players. I believe the Arizona Cardinals, taking the fanboy glasses off, putting the pom-poms down, I believe the Arizona Cardinals are going to walk into Orchard Park this weekend and defeat the Buffalo Bills. I know it sounds crazy because to the rest of the world, the Arizona Cardinals were a laughingstock last year. But it's almost like everyone else has forgotten what the Arizona Cardinals have transformed into over the past couple of seasons. This is a team that has shown real functionality. There's no more Cliff Kingsbury. There's no more Steve Keim. There's a real front office. Monty Ossenfort's leading that charge. Jonathan Gannon is a real deal head coach. There's no nonsense. There's accountability. There's maturity. There's a standard that everyone in that locker room holds themselves to. I've been in that locker room. I've been in those press conferences over this offseason. It's a different team. This offense could very well be a top 5 offense in the NFL. I understand that can be a little crazy. I get that. But look at the offense. Trey McBride, Michael Wilson was very good last year. Greg Dortch, very good slot receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr. James Conner was highly underrated last year. The offensive line is fine. And quarterback Kyler Murray is about to shock the NFL football world. And it's not just because I believe in the Arizona Cardinals. And it's not just because I more so believe they'll probably be a top 10 offense and not a top 5 offense. Even I believe that can be a little rich. But look at the Buffalo Bills. They have a ton of turnover on that team this year. No Stephon Diggs. No clear number one wide receiver. Offensive line still in flux. Different new look defense. Another Milano injury, devastatingly so. That stinks. Heck of a linebacker. James Cook is still there. Sean McDermott is coaching for his job. If the Bills don't impress this year, Sean McDermott's out the window. It's September. The Cardinals are getting a break, being able to play this team not in freezing cold temperatures with snow coming down on their faces. They're getting it in September. It might be a little rainy, but I can promise you, this team's going to like a little rain that's from Phoenix that is dealing with literally 100 straight days of 100 degrees plus here in Phoenix, Arizona. This team's going to win. This team's going to shock the world on Sunday. They're going to walk into Orchard Park with their new look offense, with Marvin Harrison Jr., with a bunch of different gadget guys, and they're going to walk in, they're going to beat that team. This is a Bills secondary that is starting Damar Hamlin, which we all know probably not the best starting safety in the NFL, although his story is absolutely immaculate getting back onto the field. The pass rush is fine. Von Miller has been much of a disappointment. They've got guys coming back from injury, but it's a defense that's got to get cohesive. It's got to get more chemistry. And with a guy like Matt Milano not in the middle of it, directing traffic, it's a clear loss for the Buffalo Bills on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I don't expect the Arizona Cardinals to run roughshod over this Bills team that has been battle-tested, that has won a lot of games in the past, that has been to AFC Conference Championship games. This team can play. But I'm telling you, the whole world is undervaluing the Arizona Cardinals. This team, with Drew Petzing's offense, the offensive coordinator that I believe has a chance to get an NFL head coaching job this upcoming offseason, Marvin Harrison Jr. being injected into this team, Michael Wilson coming back from a very good rookie season in which he still missed a couple games, Trey McBride being ready to show the world why he's a top 3 tight end, the offensive line that is going to continue to progress and get better. James Conner is still back there with a rookie in Trey Benson ready to help him out with a clear 1-2 punch. And the world has just completely undervalued and underrated Kyler Murray. They have thrown him in the trash. They've called him a video game player because they haven't watched the maturity that everyone here in Phoenix has watched. He's a different guy. He's a different player. He's not the same guy he used to be. He's mature. He has accountability. And the biggest thing that everyone seems to overlook, he doesn't feel like he has to do everything anymore. It feels like for him, he's a piece of the puzzle. He's not the entire puzzle. He feels like he doesn't have to do everything. The Cliff Kingsbury offense that fell off a cliff every year after week 8 because he can't adjust. Steve Keim, who refused to get him help in the draft because he was a bad general manager who consistently picked the wrong players. This team, with a new look offense, with Drew Petzing, with all the weapons that I named, they're going to march into Buffalo with a Buffalo Bills team with a new look defense, no wide receiver one, an offensive line that can be shaky at times, a bunch of pressure on Sean McDermott to succeed this year or he'll lose his job, and a Josh Allen that is asked to be Superman or the Bills don't win. I expect the upset of the weekend to be the Arizona Cardinals over the Buffalo Bills. I expect it to be a close game, but the Cardinals have something to prove. This is a team that's been written off by the NFL world. They were voted one of the most dysfunctional franchises in the NFL by NFL agents. The whole world has been sleeping on this team. And by Sunday night, the whole world is going to see just why everyone in Phoenix here has been buzzing about the Arizona Cardinals. Because this team is going to march into Buffalo, and it's going to put up a heck of a ton of points. It's going to be a shootout of a game. But Kyler Murray is going to put the world on notice right away on week 1 and show why this team will be a wild card team. Now, a 5 seed, a 6 seed, no. But I do believe this team is not only going to beat the Buffalo Bills, but be the 7th seed in the NFC and show why they are on the verge of being one of the most competent franchises in the NFL and why they are going to be a wildcard team this year. I know it's crazy. I know it's bold. I know people will write it off and say this Arizona head is a fanboy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This team is going to shock the world and go into Buffalo and shut the Buffalo Bill fans up and all the doubters of the Arizona Cardinals up. And as much as I'm a fan of Josh Allen, that guy has got a lot of work to do dealing with new pieces, trying to find out who his new number one is, trying to figure out if he's going to have help on the defensive side of the ball to help keep him in games. This Bills team has a ton of pressure, and this Arizona Cardinals team is playing with house money this Sunday. And it's going to show on Sunday when they come out on top and beat the Buffalo Bills. So I don't want to take a ton of time on this, but I do want to talk about the Patrick Surtain extension. It did happen a couple of days ago, but I didn't have this thought in my head until I really thought about it last night before I went to bed. Patrick Surtain is the best corner in the NFL, bar none. You can argue Sauce Gardner, that's fine. You can argue another guy. My personal preference is Patrick Surtain. And Patrick Surtain got a 4-year, $96 million record-breaking extension the other day at basically $22, $24 million a year. And it really got me thinking. In an NFL with an increasing supply of wide receivers, where every year we get an elite wide receiver, the guy T-Mac from the University of Arizona might be the next Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. came out the year prior. We've had Jamar Chases. We've had Justin Jefferson's come out. Finding a wide receiver has literally never been easier in the NFL. Every team has two. Every team minimum has two fine wide receivers. Some teams, you could argue, have 2 ones. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. You could argue 2 teams have a 1 and a very high-end 2. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. The Arizona Cardinals, I believe they have that as well. Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. It's never been easier to find a wide receiver in the NFL. It's never been easier. So why are we allocating so much money to the wide receiver position? It's almost like the running back market. Every year it's rinse and replace. You don't have to pay a running back anymore. You can use him, abuse him, and then lose him and bring in another guy. Save the money. I'm not advocating for anyone to lose their job early or guys not to get paid. It's just a question. Justin Jefferson is making $40 million a year. Justin Jefferson's awesome. Justin Jefferson's an elite wide receiver. Justin Jefferson is quite possibly one of the best players in the NFL. But in a cornerback position where, count on your hand, can you name five elite shutdown corners? Because I can name 5 elite do-it-all wide receivers. The supply and demand says the cornerbacks should be getting paid a ton, not the wide receivers. Patrick Surtain is a shutdown cornerback, can shut down any wide receiver in the NFL, and is making $15 million less a year than Justin Jefferson. I'm going to say the hot take out loud. I believe the wide receiver market is about to implode on itself. I believe people and teams are going to see, franchises and general managers alike, are going to see you can find wide receivers kind of anywhere. Every team's got 1. Every team's got 2. Some teams even have 3 wide receivers they like. Almost no team outside of the New York Jets have 2 corners that they feel great about. So why is the cornerback market not exploding like the wide receiver market? And here's the quiet part out loud that I've been dancing around. I would much rather have Patrick Surtain, who could take out any wide receiver in any game because he is the bona fide number 1 best cornerback in the NFL at $24, $23 million a year than I would any wide receiver in the NFL. I'd rather have Patrick Surtain at $24 million a year than Brandon Ayuk at $30 million a year, or CeeDee Lamb at $34 million a year, or maybe even Justin Jefferson at $40 million a year. It is insane to me how, yes, in a consistently changing league that definitely leans offense, that teams are consistently willing to pay wide receivers $40 million a year, and Jamar Chase will probably get more than that. It's crazy to me that is the threshold. Wide receivers get a ton of money, but you can kind of find a wide receiver in every draft. You can find a wide receiver everywhere. They're always on the market. You can trade for one. A.J. Brown's been traded. DeAndre Hopkins been traded. You can trade for wide receivers. They're on the wide receiver market. Christian Kirk was just signed. It's not hard. Try to find a cornerback. Try to find a team with 2 shutdown corners not named the New York Jets. And I wouldn't even argue they have 2 shutdowns. They have 1 shutdown and 1 pretty good guy. It doesn't make sense to me. I would much rather have Patrick Surtain on the contract he's on, almost $15 million a year less than Justin Jefferson, or $10 million a year less than CeeDee Lamb, or $5 million a year less than Brandon Ayuk. Because wide receivers are everywhere. You can find them anywhere. Every team, even the bad teams, have one that they like at least. The Panthers were awful last year. They had Adam Thielen last year, who was fine. He's a good wide receiver. He's maybe not elite. He's maybe not amazing like he used to be, but he's fine. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. The Falcons, Drake London. They signed Darnell Mooney, who Bears fans have been telling me is amazing. It's so strange to me how the wide receiver market has just done this, and the cornerback market has not reciprocated that for a league that has gotten more offensive driven, which makes the defensive side of the ball that much more important to hold teams under 50 points. It's crazy to me that Patrick Surtain, a shutdown corner, is getting $24 million a year. And it's where I believe the money should be allocated to on teams. I believe teams should prioritize the cornerback position over the wide receiver position. Because cornerbacks, you can't find them anywhere. Every draft, you're like, I hope this is the right guy. But you have to wait a year because there's a learning curve, because the NFL's too fast and wide receivers are too good. I don't get it. I don't get it. I understand. I'm not going to knock anyone for paying $40 million a year for Justin Jefferson, a guy who's amazing, but Patrick Surtain, I mean, he's fantastic. And not getting paid near the money of what even Brandon Ayuk is getting. It's insanity. It's crazy, and I will continue to question why the cornerback market and the cornerbacks as a whole are not being prioritized as much in the NFL as they used to be. Thanks so much for tuning into the Ben Garcia Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, whether you're watching on Apple Podcasts, or I guess I should say, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, whether you're listening on Spotify, or you're putting a face to the voice, you're watching on YouTube as well. We've been growing tremendously. Things are so busy. We appreciate all the help that you guys have been giving us watching, supporting the videos, saying great things, saying not so great things, which I appreciate as well. Love interacting with you guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Football is back. I'll be back with a bunch of football stuff next week. Took a little bit of a hiatus this week, but I got you guys a show towards the end of it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. It's been the Ben Garcia Show. I'm Ben Garcia, and until next week, it's been the Ben Garcia Show.